A hemorrhoid is a swollen vein, usually around the area of your butt, that is extremely painful. Now, you clicked on an AP European history video, and now you're wondering, why am I bringing up hemorrhoids? Well, it's because in this video we're going to talk about the African slave trade that rose up in response to European empire building in the 16th and 17th centuries. And if empire building is the badonkus of European history, then the slave trade is the hemorrhoid squarely in the crack. Am I taking this too far? I don't think you've taken it far enough. Well, okay, if you're ready to get them brain cows milked, let's get to it. Now, in order to understand the African slave trade, we need to talk first about the causes and second about its effects. Now, the main cause for the rise and acceleration of the African slave trade was the establishment of a plantation economy in the colonies of the New World. Now, remember, European states are going out and exploring during this period in no small part because of their economic system known as mercantilism. This system majored on getting as much mineral wealth, which is to say gold and silver, into the national coffers as possible. And so when Spain, for example, extended their empire into the Americas, their first goal was to find as much gold and silver as possible, and they ended up finding quite a lot. But eventually it became clear, because of the climate, especially in this region right here, that growing crops on plantations for export would be the more profitable way to go. And so the plantation economy was born in these warm areas that virtually had year-round growing seasons. And the plantation economy was ordered around cash crops, which means that a plantation would focus on growing only one or two crops, and that the purpose of those crops was to be exported for profit. And sugarcane and coffee were among the major crops, just in case you're interested. And as it turned out, these crops fetched an extraordinary amount of boom for their parent economies. Now, you may think that Spain, for example, sent Spaniards across the ocean to do this back-breaking agricultural work, and if so, you would be wrong. No, their first solution was to force the indigenous populations to do the farming for them. But as it turned out, that created a problem. Not only did the natives of the land know the geography way better than the colonizers did, which meant that they were able to escape in respectable numbers, they also kept dying because of European diseases. And so European imperial states had a problem on their hands. We've got this massive plantation economy that is making us filthy, dirty, nasty, rich, but our enslaved labor force is really letting us down. And so maybe we should cease perpetuating this great injustice and just focus on our own people at home and make an honest living there. Wouldn't that be hilarious if that's what they did? No, in order to solve the problem of their dwindling indigenous labor force, they turned to Africa and the abundance of enslaved people that they could buy there. And so that became the solution. Now, as imperial European states got richer and richer, the demand for enslaved people from Africa began to spike. And the enslaved Africans solved both of their problems. First, because Africans had been in contact with Europeans for millennia, they had already had a decent amount of immunity to European diseases. Second, the Africans who were shipped to the New World didn't know the land as well, and thus were less likely to escape the plantations. Now, admittedly, I've been talking about this purely in terms of economic problems and solutions, but the truth is African slavery in the New World was a brutal system of coerced labor. After being captured and taken from their homes, the enslaved Africans were sold to Europeans who began showing up on the west coast of Africa more and more frequently. And then they were made to endure the brutal Middle Passage across the Atlantic. And depending on the weather, it could take between 2 and 6 weeks to cross, and the conditions were inhuman. Now, if you're able to get inside the mind of the captain of one of these slave ships, which I admit is a frightening prospect, but if you do, then you're going to see that to him, the more goods, which is to say people, that he could fit in the cargo hold, the more money he stood to make on the other side of the Atlantic. So the economic incentive to pack these ships full of enslaved Africans was profound. In some cases, we have accounts of these ships being so full that each person below had to lay on their side because there wasn't enough room to lay flat on their back. In addition, with so many other people close together, diseases ran rampant and killed many of them along the way. Africans were malnourished, treated shamefully, and if they made it alive to the New World, a life of brutal plantation slavery awaited them. But over the course of the next 2 centuries, the plantation economy would become more and more profitable, and the demand for enslaved people from Africa would only continue to spike along with it. Okay, now the next place you should go is right here to watch the rest of my Unit 1 videos. Click right here to grab my AP Euro review pack, which has everything you need to get an A in your class and a 5 on your exam in May. I appreciate you coming around, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Heimler out.